And tomorrow I ask everybody abdominal muscles. Okay. Two chapters here again. Which part is abdomen? Has okay, how is formed the superior wall of the abdominal cavity?
Diaphragm.
By the diaphragm. Has abdominal cavity inferior wall or not?
The pelvical cavity.
Yes. Which muscle closes down abdominal cavity?
The hip muscle?
Which muscle?
No, that's
What you said?
I said the hip muscles.
Head muscle.
No, the hip muscles.
Hip.
Hip muscle. Alexander answered correctly. Inferior wall abdominal cavity has not. Inferiorly down abdominal cavity continues into which cavity?
pelvic.
Pelvinar cavity. Where is border between, how is formed border between abdominal and pelvinar cavity? Who remember? That is line. How called,
This line.
how called that line?
Oh,
Terminal line. Terminal line separates abdominal cavity with pelvinar cavity, or below of this line we have pelvinar cavity. Abdominal cavity continues down into the pelvinar cavity. Next, except superior wall, which and how many walls has abdominal cavity? Posterior wall has this region. This region is posterior wall of abdominal cavity, paired of lateral walls, yes, and anterior wall. But remember, the posterior, lateral, and anterior walls of abdominal cavity are not formed by bone structures, and because the walls are formed by muscles. Only muscles protect the organs of the abdominal cavity, and because that muscles must be very strong, understood, for protection of organs. Posterior wall of the abdominal cavity is formed by muscle which has vertical direction. I'm showing you in atlas, but for understanding about the location of that muscle. Located between 12th rib and iliac crest, one, and on the other side, second muscle. This muscle is called quadratus lumborum muscle. This is quadratus lumborum muscle. Look at the shape of this muscle. One, and on the other side is second side. From 12th rib to the iliac crest. Yes, this is lumbar region. On the quadratus lumborum muscle located kidneys. Maybe you know where we have kidneys. Yes, here inside the abdominal cavity. Except these muscles in tortora, from the inner side here. On the quadratus lumborum muscle located two muscles, psoas major, psoas minor. But by Sinelnikov and other classification, that psoas major and minor muscles are alveolar muscles, not abdominal muscles, or mainly, mostly, or how I don't, posterior abdominal wall is formed by quadratus lumborum muscle. But here are located that psoas major and minor muscles also. Okay? About the lateral wall of the abdominal cavity. This is lateral side, yes, of the body. Lateral wall is formed by lateral muscles. That lateral muscles located by layers. First layer, second layer, third layer. By layers, and they call the first muscle, which is located under the skin, called external oblique abdominis muscle. External means it is first layer. Oblique because look at the direction of muscular fibers. They have oblique direction, up to down, from back to front, this direction. Understood? Arises from where? From the lower 6 or 7 ribs, from that lumbar fascia, from the iliac crest, from back passes front and anteriorly external oblique abdominis muscle continues into the, what is this white portion, how called? Aponeuros of external oblique abdominis muscle. What is aponeuros? What means aponeuros? It is tendon, yes? These abdominal muscles are flat, broad muscles. That broad muscles have broad tendons, and that broad tendons called aponeurosis. Understood? Aponeuros of external oblique abdominis muscle on one side, right. Units, fuses with aponeuros of other external oblique abdominis muscle in the middle of the anterior abdominal wall. Or look at this vertical line. Along of this line fuses aponeurosis of both external oblique abdominis muscles. The second layer, or if you cut external oblique abdominis muscle, this muscle, under that located second muscle, the name is internal oblique abdominis muscle. The muscular fibers also has oblique direction. From back to front, from down upward. Or if that muscular fibers have this direction, muscular fibers of internal has this direction, or they cross it. Understood? The aponeurosis of right and left internal oblique abdominis muscle fuses with together in the middle of the anterior abdominal wall, like aponeurosis of external oblique abdominis muscle. Third layer, if you cut this muscle, internal oblique abdominis muscle, visible this. How will be the name of this muscle? By the direction of muscle.
Lateral.
Lateral.
Horizontal.
Not horizontal.
No, it's not.
Transverse abdominis
transverse.
muscle. Transverse abdominis muscle, which anteriorly continues into the aponeuros, and like other that two muscles, aponeurosis of transverse abdominis muscles also fuses with together, connects the fibers in the middle of the anterior abdominal wall. The vertical line on the anterior abdominal wall, which is visible on the skin also, under the skin here, vertical line from xiphoid process of the sternum to the middle of pubic symphysis, has special name and called linea alba, or white line. Alba means white. How is formed linea alba?
Well tendon.
By what? How it is formed? I'm said.
Pubic symphysis.
No. By
Okay.
tendons.
By what? By the fusion of aponeurosis of how many muscles? 3, right? 3 left. Yes, aponeurosis of external oblique abdominis, internal oblique abdominis, and transverse abdominis muscles. Understood or not? Anterior wall of the abdomen is formed by muscle which called rectus abdominis muscle, this muscle, and on the lower part of the anterior wall, near to the pubic symphysis, located second very small muscle which called pyramidal muscle, but important is rectus abdominis muscle. Originates from lower, how many cartilage? Look at fifth, sixth, and seventh cartilaginous parts of ribs passes down vertically and inserts to the pubic symphysis and pubic crest of the pubic bowl. Look at the shape of this muscle. Rectus abdominis muscle has, how called these parts of muscles? Bellies. 3, 4, or 5 bellies. How the bellies are separated together by what? Transverse tendinous portions. Yes? On whose abdomen visible very good the bellies of rectus abdominis muscle? Short. Are you bodybuilder?
Yeah. Come on. We can study his tits too.
Yes, but not here. Not in class. But rectus abdominis muscle not visible. Yes. Why? Because where is located rectus? How it is covered anteriorly and how it is covered posteriorly. If you cut skin, you can see this picture, not directly rectus abdominis muscle. Understood? Rectus abdominis muscle has sheath. That sheath has 2 walls, anterior, posterior. What means anterior wall of sheath? Means that wall which covers this side of rectus abdominis muscle, posterior wall, back side, which is not visible here. Yes? Now listen, by the covering, rectus abdominis muscle, length of the rectus abdominis muscle divides into 2 parts, superior 2/3 and inferior 1/3 part. How and why? The upper 2/3 part of sheath has both walls, anterior and posterior. But lower 1/3 part has only anterior wall. Sheath has only anterior wall. How? If you firstly take the upper 2/3 part of the sheath. How is formed? Anterior wall of sheath, and how is formed posterior wall of sheath? From laterally comes aponeurosis of how many muscles? 3 muscles. Yes? Aponeurosis of external oblique abdominis muscle. Yes? Under that is aponeurosis of internal oblique abdominis muscle, but aponeurosis of internal oblique abdominis muscle splits into 2 layers. Understood? And comes also aponeurosis of transverse abdominis muscle, or totally we have 4 aponeurotical layers. Understood or not? Why not? First, from the surface, external oblique. Second, internal oblique, but has 2 layers. That's internal oblique. Last is transverse abdominis, which has also 1 layer. Understood or not? The rectus abdominis muscle, superior 2/3 part, upper 2/3 part of rectus abdominis muscle, located here. Or anterior wall of sheath is formed by what? Tell me, what is this paper?
This is
Layer.
external. Whatever.
Not a muscle. Aponeurosis of external oblique abdominis muscle. What is this layer?
The anterior layer.
Okay, anterior, if you want, you can call anterior layer of which muscle?
Interior, whatever, oblique, blah blah.
Blah blah. Internal oblique abdominis muscle. Finish. 2 layers. Yes? Posterior wall of sheath is formed how? Second layer of the aponeurosis of internal oblique abdominis muscle and aponeurosis of transverse abdominis muscle. Understood or not? Alexandra, are you
No.
so?
I'm tired.
Huh? Which part of the rectus abdominis muscle is covered so? Upper 2/3 part. Yes? Lower 1/3 part, sheath of lower 1/3 part has only anterior wall. Posteriorly, back side of rectus abdominis muscle is not covered by the aponeurosis. How is formed anterior wall of lower 1/3 part? By all of these layers.
Bisschen wanted to know
Totally, how many aponeurotical layers we have? 4. Yes? Look. Superior 2/3 part located here. Understood? Lower 1/3 part located here. Or that totally, that 4 aponeurotical layers passes from. Understood? Remember. Next.
What about
On the anterior, lower part of the anterior abdominal wall, we have inguinal canal. We have, because everybody have inguinal canal, male and female. Normally, everybody have inguinal canal. Here is visible, what? External. Canal means what? Shape of canal, you know, it is tube. Yes? Which has internal orifice, external orifice, and something passes through that tube. Understood or not? The length of inguinal canal is about 3 or 4 centimeters and has internal orifice, which is not visible here because it will be visible from the abdominal cavity inner side. Visible only external orifice. Understood or not? This is inguinal canal of male, this is inguinal canal of female. Inguinal canal of male transmits spermatic cord. The name of this tube-like structure is spermatic cord, on which suspends the testis. In female, inguinal canal transmits round ligament of the uterus. Understood or not? Spermatic cord is organ of male reproductive system, the main function of which is transmission of spermatic cells from testis inside the pelvic cavity. Function of round ligament is what? Protection, suspends the uterus. Uterus is separated organ, structure, muscular organ, which is located in pelvic cavity between urinary bladder anteriorly and rectum posteriorly. How it is located, this separated organ, in its position? It must be protected or fixed by ligament. The ligament which fixes uterus in its position is round ligament, which starts from uterus, passes through inguinal canal, leave the inguinal canal by external orifice of the inguinal canal, and that ligament fuses, fibers of ligament, fuses with skin or fascious tissues, soft tissues, near to the surface of the inguinal region. Understood or not? So the uterus is fixed in its position. Understood? And because normally everybody has inguinal canal. If it has 2 orifices, internal, external, and has walls, yes, this tube has walls. Now you must study how are formed the walls of the inguinal canal, internal orifice, external orifice. Look at the location of inguinal canal.
She gives us so much. I'm like, the days we only have 1 day to study.
Now wait, look.
You know?
This is inguinal canal. Here is external orifice, here will be internal orifice. This canal has walls, which superior, this will be anterior, posterior, which faces toward the abdominal cavity, and inferior wall. How are formed the walls of the inguinal canal? Again, about the lateral abdominal muscles. First muscle, lateral abdominal muscle, is which?
External
External what? Oblique what?
abdomen.
Abdominis muscle. Anteriorly external oblique abdominis muscle has aponeuros. Yes? The lower end of the aponeuros of external oblique abdominis muscle, this is lower end of the aponeuros of external oblique abdominis muscle, which passes from anterior superior iliac crest to the pubic tubercle, has special name and called inguinal ligament. Understood or not? Or inguinal ligament is not new separated ligament structure. It is lower end of aponeuros of external oblique abdominis muscle. Understood? But inguinal ligament don't finishes like this paper. How I can tell, I don't know. It has, the lower inguinal ligament has this shape, like groove shape. Understood or not? Now listen. Anterior wall of the canal is formed how? By the inguinal ligament. Yes? Inferior wall is formed by groove of inguinal ligament. Understood? How is formed superior wall of the canal? If in aponeuros of external oblique abdominis muscle finishes so, here and down, aponeurosis of internal oblique abdominis and transverse abdominis muscles finishes here, little above. That means superior wall of inguinal canal is formed by lower ends of aponeurosis of internal oblique and transverse abdominis muscles. Understood? Yes or no? How is formed what? Posterior wall. Posterior wall faces inside the abdominal cavity. There we have not aponeurosis of, finishes aponeurosis of lateral abdominal muscles. Yes? Totally, the abdominal cavity from the inner side, the walls of abdominal cavity, posterior, lateral, anterior, if you want, is lined or is covered, lined by fascia, which called transverse abdominal fascia. Understood? Muscles finishes and inner surfaces of muscles are covered by transverse abdominal fascia. That posterior wall is formed by transverse abdominis fascia. Understood? Inguinal canal has two holes, orifices, external, internal. How is formed external orifice? Inguinal ligament, which finishes at the level of pubic tubercle at this point, splits and forms that these two portions called crus of inguinal ligament. Medial crus, lateral crus, or these are cutting the inguinal ligament at the anterior border. One attached to the pubic symphysis, another to the pubic tubercle. Between these two cruces you have hole, which is visible there. Or this part called lateral crus, this part called medial crus, through which passes outside spermatic cord. How is formed internal orifice? Visible internal opening. But internal orifice of inguinal canal is not whole. It is not whole. Нужно это вам или нет, я не знаю. But for understanding, maybe you remember. Testis, spermatic cord, these organs during the embryonal development begins development in abdominal cavity. Develops in posterior abdominal wall. During the embryonal development, testis descends, passes down from abdominal cavity, enters pelvic cavity, and passes front to the anterior abdominal wall. On the anterior abdominal wall, the embryo has walls of the inguinal canal and external orifice of the inguinal canal, but has not internal orifice. Internal side of these muscles are lined by transverse abdominis fascia, yes, which has not hole at the level of inguinal canal. Here is not hole. Understood or not? Testis, which comes to the inguinal canal, this is not mechanical process, but for understanding, I'm explaining so. That testis presses to this transverse fascia, but don't cut transverse fascia. Transverse abdominal fascia surrounds the testis, and together with that fascia passes through the canal. Understood or not? Or, я на русском объясню, потом переведите этот тестис.
Обматывается. Ну как?
Вместе с этим, вместе с фасцией проходит через канал. Canal has external orifice and has walls. Yes, together with fascia, the testis and spermatic cord leave the canal, passes down outside of the body and enters scrotum. Understood? And because we have internal orifice is not whole. Internal orifice is воронкообразное углубление. Воронка, инфундибулум.
Я не знаю воронка.
Ну, воронка.
Как будто как шарик, резиновый шарик налейте воду. Что будет происходить? Тянется внизу, этот самый узкая часть остается, не разрывается.
Представь ураган, смерч. Вот этот смерч, знаешь, который крутится, вот это посередине.
Ага, он еще и со смерчью сразу. Опускание тестис.
Нет.
Это логично.
То же самое.
Has you understood or not?
No, I don't speak Russian, to be honest.
No, I don't say
She's talking about when your balls drop, man. Seriously.
Yeah, we
Сейчас,
could all
знаешь,
feel
какая
this,
картинка в
you
тему
know.
была?
Exactly, no. it's-
No, you don't know, you just realize it.
It's not so difficult to listen.
Что это?
I should
Here is this is transfer abdominal fascia.